All right. So hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. This is the local food celebrations training, the last of 4 that we've been doing. Just want to go through a couple of things. We're going to introduce just the staff members that are joining us today, just for the sake of time. And but if you wouldn't mind putting your name and your role and the region or institution or both that you are representing, so your school district or whatnot, in the chat box, then that'd be great. Just sort of a chat intro. So let's get started. My name is Christy Pastelidis. I am the farm to school coordinator for the Lower Hudson Valley. So that's Orange, Rockland, Westchester, and Putnam counties. Katie, want to do?
Sure. I'm Katie Sheehan Lopez. I'm the regional farm to school coordinator for the Upper Hudson Valley, Ulster, Dutchess, Greene, Columbia, Sullivan, and Delaware counties.
I'm always impressed with your ability to rattle those off. Cheryl, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Belinsky. I am the program lead for the Farm to School coordinator, the Farm to School program, and also a local food system specialist for the state.
Thanks. Lindsay or Megan? I don't know if Megan is here, but.
So I'm Lindsay Paget. I'm the Ag Business Development Marketing Specialist for Harvest New York and also Farm to School Coordinator for Clinton and Franklin County.
Thanks. And then our 2 speakers today are Becky O'Connor and Julie Raway. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick? Becky, I guess.
Sure, I'll go ahead. I'm Becky O'Connor. I'm a Farm to Institution Coordinator with CC Harvest New York. So part of this regional farm to school team program, and I am based in Western New York.
And I'm Julie Raway. I'm the registered dietitian for Broome, Tioga, Boces. We cover 15 school districts in Broome and Tioga counties, which is the Binghamton, New York area.
Thanks. So today, this is just our conduct, or this is who we are. We already introduced ourselves. I just wanted to go through the agenda really quickly. We're initially just going to give a brief introduction to what the Harvest New York program is and sort of what each regional coordinator role is. We have the Lower and the Hudson Valley, the Lower and Upper Hudson Valley represented here, as well as the North Country. And so those individuals would be your point people, myself, Katie, and Lindsay for those areas. Oh, and then Becky also represents Western New York as well. So I don't think we have anybody from Western New York on the call other than her. So today's topic is the local food celebrations. Becky is going to be talking about sort of just generally what these are and the importance of promoting your farm to school program. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. And sort of resources for what's out there that's been developed. And then Julie is going to introduce a case study, how she's operating the promotion programs in Broome County, Broome, Tioga counties through Broome, Tioga, Boces. And then we will have a few minutes for questions at the end. However, during the presentation, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box and we'll monitor it and answer them as we go along. So I think Katie's going to do the general intro.
Yep, so just a quick overview of the Harvest New York Regional Farm to School program. Our program goals are to provide direct support in procuring New York State food products. So working directly with food service directors and producers and distributors, and to develop resources, trainings, technical assistance to support supply chain partners. And to do that, we are, you can go to the next slide. We have, we're offering what we're calling boots on the ground support. So we can travel anywhere in a region, work directly with you. So one of the things we can do is, I can't remember the list, I have to see it. Help connecting food service directors with food and farm partners. We can work with supply chain partners on logistics, including delivery. So it's such a huge piece of that puzzle. Help develop local food procurement plans. So if you're trying to figure out how to bring in more New York State or local products, we can work with you on developing that plan. And we can assist with bid development. So if you were not at the last workshop and want to learn a lot more about bid development and geographic preference, we have the recording available of that. And we can help establish farm to school promotional campaigns. So that's what we're going to be talking about in great detail today. So you'll hear a lot more about that. And then assist with securing grants to expand your farm to school programming. So currently there are the New York State Ag and Markets has an open grant, and so does the USDA. And then finally, we can support with the 30% initiative. So if you need help or support with tracking or documentation, we can help, or even just creating a plan to get to 30% in the future, we can assist with all of those things or whatever else you think you may need.
So that's for later. I guess, Becky, you're going to start first. Okay, so I will stop sharing this one.
Okay, and I'm just going to get this set up and I'm going to share my whole screen. So if there are questions in there, if somebody else could please let me know, that would be greatly appreciated if any questions come up in the chat. So let me share my screen and I'll make this nice and big for you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about local food celebrations and promoting your farm to school program. And I'm really excited to talk about this for two reasons. One is because I think this is a really important topic that's kind of the last thing on our minds when we're talking about farm to school, because we kind of think, we're making this food, this wonderful food, people are just going to come eat it. And that doesn't always happen. And that's not all that farm to school is about. And the other reason is because I see Christine Downs is on here and I'm an Ontiora alum, class of 2006. So hello, I went to Bennett. So really excited to see that you guys are involved in the farm to school efforts. So again, promoting local foods is really important because, we're always thinking about, well, we're already doing this, we're already serving local foods, but a lot of the times districts are not telling anybody about this or educating their students about this. And you're doing all of this work and you want to make sure that people know about this. So we're going to talk a bit about why it's important to do this and kind of how you can go about doing it. But before we launch into that, I just want to do a really brief refresher on the importance of school meals because we need to know why we're promoting them. Why are they important? So of course, school meals are important because they're an important source of nutrition, especially in low income districts where students might be eating 2-3 of their meals even in school every day. It's the greatest source of nutrition for them. Eating school breakfast and lunch has been shown to improve behavior and the ability to focus and to improve academic performance. Free and reduced price lunch reduces food insecurity and obesity rates and poor health outcomes. And the new standards that have improved the nutritional content of school meals have also had a positive impact on food selection, especially in terms of fruits and vegetables. So if you participated in the previous trainings offered through this series, you're familiar with the 3 C's of farm to school, which are cafeteria and classroom and community. And comprehensive farm to school programs really create systemic change. And with that in mind, before we talk about why we should promote our farm to school programs, I just want you to consider your audiences. So I'm going to share some pictures that are from actual farm to school promotions. So first audience is going to be students, and we have families, teachers, administrators. This is a school principal. This is actually a superintendent and a local business owner. These are farmers. This is the Commissioner of Ag and Markets, elected official Tim Kennedy from Buffalo, and of course, your food service workers. So why promote your farm to school program? We're going to go into these, but I think it's into each of these. But just to start, you can really improve the perception, increase engagement, boost participation, advance knowledge and awareness, gain support, and even establish funding. So the first, I think, is such a wonderful opportunity because when we think of promotion, a lot of that is sharing pictures. And by sharing pictures, you can really show folks that school lunch doesn't look like what it used to. So you have a really great opportunity to improve folks' perception. If you don't promote the positive changes you're making, your audiences won't know that school lunch doesn't look like what it used to. Improving perception can increase the likelihood that students will eat school lunch, the likelihood that parents will let students eat school lunch. That's especially true, of course, in elementary schools. Among food service workers, it can actually help improve job satisfaction and the willingness or eagerness to take part in the positive changes that you're making. Sometimes doing farm to school means that your food service workers are taking on more responsibilities than they're used to. They're having to chop things where they didn't chop things before. And improving the perception of the program can really help them take ownership of that. And improving perception is often the first step in gaining support outside the walls of the cafeteria for farm to school. A lot of the times people want to see that there's been a change before committing to supporting it. Next is increasing engagement. So promoting your program can increase engagement. Often the only interaction parents have with your meal program, since they're not, eating in your building every day, is to know what's on the lunch menu and maybe, the information that you send home at the beginning of the school year about the program. By promoting what you're doing, you're inviting parents to actively engage and learn more, not just about what you're serving, but about local foods and seasonality and healthy eating. And that can in turn make a change outside of just your school. The same goes for teachers and administration. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, the lunch program is sometimes an afterthought, almost separate from other things that are going on in the school. But by engaging them, you're opening the door to making the cafeteria an extension of that classroom. Next is boosting participation, which is probably the most measurable impact of promotion. There are districts that have reported participation increases when they do things like New York Thursdays or New York Food Day celebrations. Others have just promoted reported an overall increase since implementing farm to school programming, showing the good work you're doing, improving the cafeteria atmosphere, improving staff buy-in. These all contribute to boosting participation in your lunch program, which then of course contributes to you getting more funding. Advancing knowledge and awareness. This crosses into the educational aspects of farm to school. Promotions serve to increase knowledge about where food comes from, awareness of local purchasing efforts and food systems in general. And we are going to specifically talk a bit more about this. So that's all I'll say about that right now. Promotions are a really great way to gain support. Again, this is an elected official here. We have some folks from Buffalo Public Schools and an advocacy day in Albany. And then he was able to attend a special promotional event that was held actually at his son's school, right in Buffalo Public School District. And we had a lot of folks from his office attend, which was really just wonderful. By improving perception and advancing knowledge and awareness, promotions can really help establish administrative support, the support of local officials, and that administrative support is, of course, crucial to developing comprehensive and sustainable programs. You really need that support. And they can also be used to engage, like I said, elected officials and decision makers. And finally, we have established funding. I'm looking at this or showing this picture here again, because this is a superintendent from a district that actually committed to improving all of their cafeterias with capital campaigns throughout the district. I know that they just announced another one recently where they will be improving some of the cafeterias in the elementary schools, which is, really exciting. This could be, a line item in your budget. And yep, I think that's it for that one. So now we'll go into actually talking about the farm to school promotions that you can use in your district. And there's so many ways to promote farm to school programs. And we're going to take a deep dive into a few of them. And I've left some details out just because I know that Julie is going to share a lot more information. And this is a picture from Broome Tioga BOCES here that Julie shared. So here are some different farm to school promotions that you can use. We have Harvest of the Month, New York Thursdays. So those are actual promotions that have names. And then there are other sort of platforms. You can promote farm to school through your website, your menu, social media, newsletters, morning announcements, signage, and taste tests. And I'm going to go into each of these. So the first one that we have is Harvest of the Month. So what is Harvest of the Month? It's an opportunity to prepare and promote local seasonal produce in schools. Often, or most often with Harvest of the Month, you're highlighting a different item that's in season and available from your local farmers or from your vendor, from farms within New York State each month. Some districts will highlight a Harvest of the Month just once a month. Others will highlight a Harvest of the Month every week. I really love Harvest of the Month, especially for schools that are new to farm to school and just kind of getting your feet wet, because it can actually really help you get organized in those first few years of farm to school programming. Because, you know, an entire year ahead of time, you can identify a seasonal menu item that you're going to serve every month. You can choose a recipe or 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how often you're going to be serving it, and then communicate with farmers or vendors about the quantity you need and when you need it. So on top of that, it's also Harvest of the Month is an educational campaign that really focuses on introducing this concept of seasonality and teaching students and the school community and parents about these different products and where they come from. These materials here were created specifically for Buffalo Public Schools, and Buffalo Public Schools was willing to share them, so they are now available statewide. We've made it into a New York farm to school materials. And there are a lot of different ways that these can be incorporated. You can highlight Harvest of the Month. I'm sorry, there are a variety of different ways you can highlight Harvest of the Month. You can include this information on your lunch menu. You can do taste tests with your Harvest of the Month item. Julie is going to talk about that a bit. You can put signage like these materials up over here in your cafeteria that really helps to improve the atmosphere as well. You can do you could do your on your morning announcements or on Facebook, social media. You can share the information on there as well. The next thing that we have is New York Thursdays or New York Food Days. Like Harvest of the Month, New York Thursdays is an actual campaign. This one started in New York City, and it's taken, it's gotten statewide momentum and support, as has Harvest of the Month. And this is a day when the entire tray is New York to the extent possible. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. If you can't make your entire tray a New York tray, that's okay. Some districts will do, it's really hard to get like a grain, for example. So maybe you're serving a local grain in your area, maybe you're getting it from Bread Alone or something like that. This can be promoted with your paper or your home lunch menu that's going home, with signage. You could do it, on Facebook. We created a lot of these for the schools in Erie County. These menus that were just the right size to be shared on Facebook to help promote those programs. Harvest of the Month is New York Thursdays, it's a great photo opportunity. Also, you have this full tray of New York products. Julie is going to show you, they just do incredible photos in their district and a really great job of promoting this. And New York Thursdays can also create a lot of anticipation and excitement. Students can look forward to this weekly or monthly or bi-weekly event where there's a lot of local stuff on the menu. Maybe there's more scratch cook, fresh stuff on the menu than there normally is, grown by farms right in New York State. And finally, it's also a really great opportunity to share who your farm partners are. Julie's menus will show you the same thing. You have your menu item up here, but then you can share who your farm partners are right on there below it. Next, we have your website. This is the most boring looking slide in all of this, but everybody has a website. Your menus are all posted online. You can include information about farm to school right on your website. I know a number of districts use this platform, and you can actually just add a little tab right there for farm to school. And you can include things there like newsletters, like, infographics, just information about farm to school. In that same window where you post your menu, you don't have to use that Super Kids. I'm not assuming everybody uses this platform, but it comes populated with the Super Kids nutrition newsletter. Nothing saying that you have to use that. You can add the New York State Harvest of the Month newsletters as well. Next is your lunch menu, where you can highlight New York products and special promotions like New York Thursdays and Harvest of the Month. I'm going to zoom in on this one a little bit. This is from Buffalo Public Schools. And every time there's a New York item on their menu, they highlight it. So even though it's just milk, they're highlighting that it's New York State milk. I actually noticed that they didn't put that it was New York State kale here, but this is New York State kale. We have the New York State potato chips. There's something somewhere else. We had New York State Bosch pears, somewhere on here, right there. Yeah. And a lot of districts have, in this right-hand column over here, you have space to put some information over there. So you can share, you could even share what your Harvest of the Month is, or you could put a little bit of information about, a farm or something that you're getting local products from. Next, we have social media. So I have a really love-hate relationship with social media, but it's a really, really great way to engage parents. Some farm to school programs have their own Facebook pages, or food service will have their own Facebook page. A lot of districts, though, it's a really great idea to kind of just tap into what the district already has if there's already a lot of parent or community engagement with your district's Facebook page. These are just some posts I just took two from Hamburg because I work really closely with them and they're fine with me using their pictures. So this is a way that they're showing what they are doing actually in the cafeteria. This is their food service program is processing local tomatoes for use later in the school year so they can use it, in the winter. This is them showing students tasting zucchini, in a taste test ahead of it being served on the lunch menu. And then again, we have a New York Thursdays menu here. So, put that on your Facebook page, work with your technology department. Show pictures, are just a wonderful way to show folks what's going on. Parents love to see what their kids are doing at school. And it's just really cool to see the food service staff doing scratch cooking right there in the cafeteria. We have newsletters. Julie's going to share a bit about their really, really beautiful newsletters that they have. We have some more general New York State Farm to School newsletters that it doesn't have specific. So Julie's program has worked on really specific newsletters that highlight the farmers that they're actually using. These other Harvest of the Month ones are just general information about the products. So you can kind of use that however it works best for you and your district. You can post on your website, like we discussed before. You can share the newsletters on social media. You can send this home to parents, via email, or if you're sending home a print version of your menu, you could send it home like that. Some districts have, like my kids' district has Tuesday folders. So this is something that could be sent home to all of the parents in the Tuesday email blast. Also, something really wonderful about these materials is that they can be used as an educational tool in the classroom. So actually your teachers can use these to increase their knowledge and kind of have talking points. And depending on the grade level, they're just a really wonderful educational tool to use in the classroom. Then we have signage. Signage primes your audience. It makes your cafeteria a more welcoming looking place. These are not the best pictures of signage. This cafeteria here in the bottom left, they had all of their Harvest of the Month posters up, and it just made this really beautiful wall. And that helps to prime students for making those healthy options. This is just a sign right on the lunch line that says what's being served and where that item was sourced from. This is another one from Broome Bosse's that I stole from Julie's website. They put these up in the cafeteria on New York Thursdays. Again, something to prime students. And I love these, I love this over here. I was in a cafeteria down basically in Pennsylvania the other day in Whitesville School District. And on every table, they had a napkin holder, and in every napkin holder, one side it said something like, you know, drink milk or got milk. And then the other side, it had something about farm to school. So they had like 6 or 10 different versions of this. So about like, you know, different places that they get local foods from or why they're doing farm to school. I just thought that was such a cool and innovative idea. And then, you know, you're seeing all these materials and everything. Where can you find resources about this? So on our Farm to School website, there are links to Harvest of the Month materials from the New York State Department of Education and Agriculture Markets, Harvest New York. So those are the Farm to School, the Buffalo Farm to School ones that we made, New York Farm to School. Cornell Cooperative Extension of Seneca County has created some. Poughkeepsie Farm Project, we've put their stuff on there. I love social media as an inspiration. So you could look at Hamburg Farm to School's Facebook page. These are all links. Rock On Cafe, Seeds of Living Education. They do a lot of taste tests. Mechanicville City School Food Service has really been doing a lot recently to improve their lunch program and serve more local foods. Farm to School Mohawk Valley, another one with really beautiful pictures. And Ithaca School Food, they have a really wonderful local purchasing program, and they've been sharing some really great pictures. Sometimes we do need funding for these things though, and the USDA Farm to School Grant and the New York State Department of Agriculture Markets Farm to School Grant are out right now, which I think you guys probably talked about in one of your previous sessions. So before I hand it over to Julie, does anybody have any questions? Or is there anything else you wanted me to cover? Those of you who are running this presentation that I didn't. All right, so I guess I will turn it over to Julie then.
Sounds good. Thank you. And I'll just mention, I put this in the chat, but if you're looking for like a place to start Farm to School, I think Harvest of the Month is that like great way to, you know, have students try something and start on a smaller scale or smaller promotion. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Let's try that again. Okay, can you see that?
We can.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to jump right in and give a little bit of background information. Some of you may have been on the last presentation as well, but I work with the Rock On Cafe program, which is Broome, Tioga Food Services. We have 15 school districts in Broome and Tioga County. And as you can see on the screen here, we run a bunch of different programs and we serve about 20,000 lunches a day, 11,500 breakfasts. So just some background information. We have a few urban schools, but a lot of rural small school districts that we work with. So New York Thursdays is what I'm going to primarily focus on, as well as some other promotions. But New York Thursdays is a program that brings local farm fresh foods right to school. So for us, right now, we have 2 New York Thursdays a month where we try to source as many New York State products as we can. As mentioned earlier by Becky, and I saw in the chat as well, New York State grain items are very difficult to source. So that is definitely a challenge for us. And even on these trays in this picture that are some of our meals, like we have tortilla chips and those are not New York State products. So we try to source as much as we can for New York Thursday, but sometimes it's not 100% just because of some of the limitations of product availability. But there are some New York grain items that are popping up here and there. I know there's like a New York pasta out there now and some other items. So it's definitely something that might change over the next few years. But really this day is to highlight local food, and it creates an opportunity to really promote local school meals and school meals in general. One thing I'll say is we started our Farm to School program probably 10 years ago, and we really started small, and it just started with like making sure we had New York milk and then New York apples. And then we started branching out and connecting with farms. So it really took a lot of years to build this. And then we started with 5 of our districts doing New York Thursdays, and we just did 5 of them in 1 year. So we didn't start with all of our districts. We didn't start with 1 New York Thursday a month. We really started with a small, what we call like a pilot, to kind of see if it worked in these districts. And then we were able to expand to all 15 districts, but it really took almost 3 years to expand. As any of you know, the delivery logistics of getting local food is definitely challenging, and any logistics right now of sourcing food is a challenge. It's all the food service directors probably already know of all the supply chain issues. So New York Thursday celebrations, the one thing I'll say is the menus drive everything. So the menus we plan drive all the promotions that we do, from our newsletters to our menu posters to our menu panels to the social media we do. They also drive the Ag in the Classroom. I'll talk about our partnerships a little bit, and this is our first year connecting with Ag in the Classroom, and I'll dive into that a little bit later. They also drive our taste test. We're planning a culinary training and a video project that's in the works right now. And our menus really drive all the work that we're doing. So we plan the menus first, and then we decide on the promotions second. And none of this is possible without the partners that we have, because everything is in coordination with them to really support us, because food service is so busy with so many other things at Farm to School. You need those support people and organizations to really help out. So these are our menus. We develop our menus the fall prior to the next school year. So we are actually going to be working on our New York Thursday menus for next school year next week. So we really take a lot of time to build these menus because they drive everything else we do, from the education piece to the promotions to our social media. So this is just a snapshot of some of our menus. And of course, we draft the menus and then we put the bid out, which I talked about last time. And sometimes we don't get everything bid on, so we have to go back and redraft. But this really drives our promotions and celebrations. So again, just a little bit deeper dive into New York Thursdays with our specific districts. So right now we're doing twice a month, maybe expanding next year. We're not sure yet. We've talked about it, but there's some statistics on these slides. And then I do want to point out, you know, some of our promotions here, just the menu posters that we do, and I'll talk about these even more later, but we really try to advertise what we're doing, because not only does it promote New York Thursdays and New York products, but it really promotes school meals, and school meals are much different than they were in the past. So again, here's some pictures of our local food. We are fortunate enough to have some grant money that we had a professional photographer come in and take these pictures. Most of the other pictures that we use for promotions, I take myself. I'll go into the cafeteria and try to stage it, but these were taken by a professional photographer to just showcase, you know, the meals that we do, and we use the food that's being served in the cafeterias. So our recipe development, again, I always say the menus drive everything, but it's actually, in this case, sometimes our recipe development drives what's on the menus. We really base it on what products that farmers have available. So after we connect with farmers and decide what's available, we're able to come up with recipes, because we really want to be as efficient as possible. We try to use what products we know are available. So these are some pictures from some of our taste tests. And the other thing I would suggest too, if you're looking at incorporating more items or New York Thursdays into the menus and promote them, is to look at what you're already offering on the school lunch menu and see if you can find a New York State product to replace it. That's kind of where we started as well. Instead of like starting with fully revamped and new recipes, sometimes it's easier to replace something that you already have on the menu with a New York item. And part of our recipe development is in partnership with our 2 partner organizations, which is Cornell Cooperative Extension, Broome County, and the Food and Health Network. And basically how our taste tests work with logistics is usually I'm there representing the food service office, and then we have someone from Cornell Cooperative Extension and one person from Food and Health. And we're not always at every taste test, but we try to always be there and represent all organizations, and that way we get different viewpoints as well. And we just go into the school cafeteria, you know, tell them what we're going to test ahead of time. Our Food and Health Network, we have our Farm to School coordinator housed there, And she brings everything that we need besides some of the staples that are already in the kitchen. And we just prep and then we offer samples. And not only does this get students to try the food, but we always make sure we promote it really well. I know Becky talked about like social media. I always make sure when we have a taste test or New York Thursday that we're getting pictures, and you almost need someone designated to do that, because when you're in the kitchen and no one's designated, you're always busy prepping. So that's just one tip, is sometimes we just make sure one person is designated to take some photos. Here's some more pictures from our New York Thursday taste test. Again, with the promotions, I mean, we've been fortunate to have grant money to buy. You'll see in some of the pictures, the green tablecloth, the banner, t-shirts, and then we actually, made by hand our voting board. You'll see up in the upper right-hand corner. But the different colors represent like the different grade levels that have tried it. Because sometimes we find that some recipes go at 5th grade level, but at kindergarten, they're not quite sure if they like it yet. So we've really tried to, again, when we do a taste test, promote it as much as we can and make it a big deal. We have announcements in the morning. And another tip for doing taste tests is I always make sure that we have extra samples to have the staff in the kitchen try, and also bring some down to the main office, because not only does everybody like food, but it's a great way to promote it, have the principal try it if the superintendent is there. And then it also gets the word out and promotes, hey, we're looking at doing local products on our menu. So again, here are some of our promotions. So posters, we do a monthly newsletter that we just started, so it's relatively new. Menu panels, morning announcements, hanging banners, retractable banners. We have a map of our farms. We've also connected with all 15 of our district public relations coordinators. We do recipe cards. We just started a video series and social media. And why is this important? Because I think sometimes behind the scenes, we do all this work to get local food on the menu and none of it is promoted. And years ago, actually it was like 2 or 3 years ago, we had someone write a letter to the editor or opinion piece about how our schools don't do any farm to school. And after I saw that, I was like, wow, I thought we were doing a good job promoting this, but clearly we need to promote more, because we were at that time doing a lot of farm to school. We actually had New York Thursdays running. We had local apples on the menu. We had local dairy products and local fruits and veggies. And it was like, to have someone say we weren't doing any farm to school, it was kind of like, wow, we do all this work behind the scenes and it still hasn't been promoted enough. So we're always looking at new avenues to promote the farm to school program and school lunch in general. So I'm going to dive into some of these a little bit more. These are our menu posters. So every New York Thursday we have the menu posters are created by our farm to school coordinator. So they're not done by food service. They're done by one of our partner agencies. And we have these printed. They're printed by BOCES and sent out to all 15 of the districts. So it's a partnership, because there's a lot of back and forth of, the menus, and if they change, and then we get them printed, and sometimes we have to reprint. But this is really, we love to advertise the menu in advance so that students know, and these are posted right in the cafeteria and around the school. And they're, pretty, we have a template now, so they're pretty easy to interchange the photos and the menu items. We just started a farm to school newsletter, I think last year or the year before, I'm not sure. And, the pandemic hit. So it was like, well, how do we disperse this? Kids aren't in school, but we still were able to send it out electronically to the districts. And I also take the newsletter and just, convert it to a JPEG file and post on social media. We also send this to our local legislators, because we feel that it's important for them to see what we're doing in the schools. And each month features both what we're doing. This was our first one, so it announced New York Thursdays. But after that, it features like what's being on the menu, and then some recipes that parents and students can make at home. So this just started, and I think we're in our 2nd year, and we're really hoping this helps promote New York Thursdays with schools, with parents, with legislators, just really getting the word out about what we're doing. And this is actually done by our local extension office. So we have someone in extension who designs the newsletter. So we kind of split up the work a little bit. So like our farm to school coordinator who's at food and health is doing menu panels and the menu posters. And then our extension office is supporting us on recipes for families in the newsletter. These are some of our menu panels. So we try to coordinate with both partner agencies. So we really aligned what we're doing with what's on the menu to what we're putting in the newsletter, to what we're putting on the paper menus, and to what we're posting on social media, because we don't want to recreate all this work and recreate what we're doing. And we really want to have a consistent message. And actually, I noticed that Hannah, our farm to school coordinator, is on this. So you have any questions, you can ask her as well. But Hannah does these. And again, it's really great to have that consistent messaging with all the promotions that we're doing. And this is a little outdated because of bids changing, but we do have a poster of our local farms that we're working with. And we have hung this in the schools to really show students where their food is coming from on our New York Thursdays. And then we also have some recipe cards. Again, Hannah, our farm to school coordinator, has developed these, but these are if we have like a farm to school event, or someone wants a family size recipe of one of the recipes that we're offering in school, we're able to hand these out, because sometimes like the recipes I have are for like 100 servings and we can't really hand that to a family. We can direct them to the Food and Health Network website or send them this recipe if they want something they can make at home. And then most recently, we started working on a video series, and we released our first video. When I'm done presenting, I'll put the link right in the chat. But we're really trying to focus on, our first video was an overall view of our farm to school program, and then we're going to dive into different sectors from our promotions of New York Thursdays and taste tests. And we're going to also talk about our local farms that we're partnering with. Just this morning, Hannah and I were out at Cascoon Farm, which is our local chicken farm today, getting some video footage for our video series, because we really want to highlight the farmers and the community and all the different aspects. We're also going to do a video directly on the delivery system that we use, because as everybody knows, it is a little bit of a challenge to sometimes get products. So we want to talk about that as well and be transparent with the public. And then all of this, like all the video series, everything we do, even when we were out doing videos today at the farm, I took a bunch of pictures so that we can also post that as well. So we really try to utilize as much as we can. You know, if we're doing a video, I also get pictures for the, social media at the same time. And we do that with all of our farm to school events in New York Thursdays as well, is just get videos and photos and use them in any way possible. So I'm going to talk about social media because we do have 3 social media pages. We do Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I know some other schools just do Facebook and some do Instagram. It's really whatever platforms you're comfortable with. Some districts have district pages, which I would encourage you, if you have a district page and you're doing some farm to school, like share your pictures with your public relations person. And a lot of times they're more than happy to post. We share our farm to school newsletter with all 15 of our district PR coordinators. I wouldn't say all of them post it, but most of them do, which is great. So, deciding on platforms, I would say stick with a couple or one, depending on the time that you have. And then we always try to not post too much, but try to post here and there. You don't want to not post for a couple of weeks because then it gets a little bit stagnant. But we try to post every couple of days if we can. And then for photos, if the photo looks bad, don't use it. That's like my rule. If I get a photo from someone and it doesn't look good, I just don't post it, because we really, it's our image. It's our food service program image out there. So I'm going to just dive in a little bit with the photos. And I know Becky talked a little bit about this earlier, using photos. But just a few photo tips, and I am not a professional photographer. I have very little photography skills, but I've been able to take all these pictures just by learning a few tips over the years. So first, the natural light is best. I always find that school kitchens have some of the worst lighting ever when you're in there. And I always suggest, like, a lot of times if I put together like one of our trays here on the screen for New York Thursdays, I will carry the tray out into the cafeteria if there's windows and make sure the windows are behind me so that you get really good lighting. I've even taken school lunch trays outside on days where it's like really cloudy and the lighting inside is not great. It really makes a difference in what you're promoting. And then again, just trying different angles of the camera, looking at the backgrounds and cropping. So you'll see on some of these, like the pepper taste test we have a confetti corn salad, just really including some of the ingredients in the picture to show people what's in it. And then in the bottom right here, it was we call it an ABC salad. It's apple, beets, and carrots, and they're all shredded. And again, just, it's hard to tell, but having the beets in the background or different angles, so that really makes it appealing to look at. Using like props, obviously food props are great if you have any props. And then patterns, and using textured food. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the cabbage. We have a couple cabbage salads that we've tested with students and just showing that texture of the product that you're using. And then the last thing is, I always say, invite people to the party. If you can get pictures of people with food that you're serving, that's always a great way to promote it. So again, some photo ideas, the food, final products, deliveries. I love getting pictures of like food coming off of a farm truck. I just think that's so great, showing it coming into the school. In the bottom left-hand corner is a principal trying our taste test. Like, it's always great when adults try the food because they promote it to the students. And if you can get them to like try it publicly in front of the students, then the students are more likely to try the food. And then any special events, and I love getting pictures of kids, of course, and we always make sure we have photo permission from the school. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of change gears just a little bit to our culinary experience. So one of the things we've learned over the years through like our New York Thursday program is that we really have to cultivate some prep skills and culinary skills in the kitchen. And so we are currently in the process of designing a culinary experience or training for our staff. We have over 400 staff. So we're planning this the end of June between when school ends and transitioning into summer meals. So most people are able to make that time frame. And we won't have all staff there just because of the timing, but we're going to try to really encourage everybody to go. And again, this is a great opportunity to tie in promotions as well. So we're going to be taking a lot of pictures and, you know, designing the training around what our staff need to help prepare the fresh local products. And I really think this is a big part of serving local food because a lot of it is fresh and some people might not know how to prepare fresh food. And then also the promotion piece of it, really promoting what you're doing to the public. As I mentioned earlier, we work with Cornell Power Extension. They're actually one of our main supporters on the culinary training. They have taken the lead on it. So whenever we do a project, there's the three organizations. So we have the BOCES, which is the schools. We have Cornell Power Extension, and we have Food and Health. And we all meet and we kind of like decide who's going to take the lead on different projects. So CCE is taking the lead on the culinary project. We've taken the lead, BOCES, on the video project. And then Food and Health has really taken the lead on like our bids and our recipe development. But I do want to mention, as I mentioned earlier, the menus drive everything. So we recently started this actually last spring, partnering more with CCE, not just on the newsletters and that education piece, but beyond that with the Ag in the Classroom. A lot of our districts have Ag in the Classroom programs already going. And so we've started to align our programming with what they're doing. So sometimes we'll look at the menu each month and say, how can this be incorporated into the Ag in the Classroom? That way students are learning about, you know, what's on the products that are on the menu, because sometimes, you know, students have never eaten a squash or they've never even seen it. And this is a great way to have the education piece and then transfer over to what's being served in the cafeteria. And we've never on the BOCES end had the capacity to do that. So we're really thankful to have partners that have the capacity and we're able to partner and talk and say what's really best for the students and aligning the menus of what education is being offered in the classroom. And then to just tie everything together with the New York Thursday benefits, is promoting school meals. I think this is a great avenue to promote school meals, not just the local ones, but every school meal, and supporting community partners and the farmers. So we're really lucky that all of our farmers, a lot who have won the bid, want to work with us, and they want to go beyond just providing New York products to schools. They want to meet with us. They want to provide video footage. I mean, today we were on a farm and the farmer was, more than happy to go on video and share, why they support farm to school. And then our classroom connections as well. We've really branched out from the cafeteria into the classrooms, with that education piece for students to learn about New York State agriculture. And then lastly, our political collaborations. We're able to really showcase what we do. And a lot of times our local legislators come to us and they're asking what we're doing, or they saw something on social media and they ask about it. And then just sending them any of our promotions, we just email it over and hope that they read it, because we really want them to know what's going on in this area. So some future expansions. So once we establish New York Thursdays, we've obviously had to change many things over the years to get them to work. And one of them that we've looked at a lot is our delivery system. Right now we get local food from farmers and it's dropped off at certain school buildings. We have about 66 buildings. So, a farmer can't go to every building. It just would never be possible for them. So we're able to have drop points. And then at this time right now, we have our directors delivering food in minivans, which we all know isn't the most sustainable method. So we were fortunate to get some grant funding for a refrigerated food truck that should be here in February. So once we get that truck, that will really help us to expand into more products and more New York Thursdays. And hopefully next year we'll expand in New York Thursdays, but again, that's very dependent on the refrigerated food truck and capacity that we have moving forward. We also are looking at expanding our New York products and working with local farmers. We have a farmer, we just talked about creating a new product with them, a New York product for schools, a New York 4-ounce cider. And he's willing to purchase the equipment and do it with some grant funding. So we, want to connect and see if there's products that farmers would be able to supply if they had the right support. And then increasing our farm to school promotions. Again, we're constantly brainstorming how to better promote the farm to school work and school meals, and then connecting the classroom, cafeteria, and community. Further making that connection. It's taken us a lot of years to even connect into the classrooms, but we want to go beyond that. And then lastly, focusing on school level farm to school committees. We really haven't done that yet. And I think that would be, a great avenue to take in supporting what's being served in the cafeteria and what's being taught in the classrooms, is having really the cheerleaders of each school district being involved. So as I mentioned, again, all our partnerships, and I do want to mention, partnerships tend to be, because I've been here over 13 years, they tend to change depending on the projects we're working on. So even years ago, just for example, with Cornell Park Extension, we used to work through their ag department, and now we're working through their nutrition department. But we certainly have connected back with the ag department. It really depends on capacity. And we're just very happy to have them as a partner. And then the Food and Health Network, they house our farm to school coordinator, Hannah, who's also on this meeting, if you have any questions for her. But we're able to partner on grants and projects with both of these great organizations. And then funding, we have funding with, as anybody knows, you need funding to really help the program a lot of times. So we've been very fortunate to get funding through the New York State Ag and Markets grants. We've actually won all 5 rounds of funding. And as you may know, the 6th round was just announced for people to apply. So we are looking at that as well. We've won 1 USDA grant, which actually I think Food and Health actually is the core partner on that. Like they house the grant and then we share it with them. Some other in-kind, and then Food and Health Network has had other funding sources that have really helped us out. Their AmeriCorps program has been great. We've been able to have AmeriCorps positions help us out with taste tests and different events and different farm to school projects. And they've really been a great resource for the farm to school program. And then our partnerships with farmers, like I said, we highlight them in the newsletter. We really value the partnerships with our farms. So we try to highlight the farmers in our newsletter menu, our video series that we're creating. We haven't done this before. This is relatively new for us to really highlight the farmers as much as we hadn't really done any in the past. So we're really excited to be highlighting them this year. And last year we started doing this during the pandemic. And moving forward, we're hoping to highlight farmers even more to really connect students to where the food is coming from. And then also Ag in the Classroom, our partnership with them, we've been able to do a farm tour. I mean, it's been virtual with the pandemic, but hoping to really connect with them and, you know, help students understand that, like, hey, the New York apples you're getting in your cafeteria are the ones that you saw on the farm, you know, and the farmer grew them. So we're really fortunate to have these partnerships with our farmers to bring the education right to the students. This is the timeline of our promotions and our celebrations. So first, I'm going to start to the left. I don't know where you start because it's almost cyclical. It keeps happening. But I guess during the school year, we implement our promotions and education from September to June. We actually don't do much promotions over the summer, mostly because we're in summer meals like mindset right now. And there's been so much going on with the pandemic. We haven't actually started focusing on promoting farm to school over the summer yet. And then so during the school year, right now we're in the fall here. So we're developing new recipes. We're testing them with students. This way we can create our bid. And then after that, we're able to start planning the promotion. So we actually start meeting and planning our promotions the spring before, and then we finalize them over the summer so that we're all set for the new school year. These are our website and social media pages. Again, I think social media is a great way to promote what you're doing. And, you know, I guess my three biggest tips are, you know, make sure you take good pictures, tag a lot of people, and, you know, we tag all our partners, we tag associations, we tag ag and markets. We really want everybody to see what's going on. And then, you know, just continue to, you know, share and post regularly to get a lot of traffic on your social media pages. And that's all I have. So if anybody has any questions, I can stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody. And I will throw the link to the video in the chat. For some reason, I can't figure out how to unshare right now. There it is. Okay.
Right. Does anyone have any questions for Julie or Becky?
Becky, did you have more to share, and then we can take more questions at the end, or?
I actually shared the part that had originally been kind of like separated was the sharing of the resources, but I shared those resources already, so all set.
I actually have a question about the grants. What kind of things were you asking for to get the grants? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, some of the things, it just doesn't make sense, or I don't know, just ideas and thoughts on what to apply for.
yeah, I mean, I can let others chime in as well. I know for us, when we sit down and we like talk about what we want to do, so all three partner agencies sit down. In the past, we've looked at, like, first was, you know, starting New York Thursdays and the expansion, like, do we need equipment? Do we need training? Like, what do we need to make it happen? And then we've been able to write that into the grant. So for us, like, The last round, so it's been a little funky with the pandemic, because one of our grants and our last one was obviously the culinary training that is written into one of our grants, because we realized like our staff need hands-on skills. So we wrote in a lot of funds for that. We had on the last grant wrote in, obviously we have delivery challenges. I don't know if others do, but we have a lot of delivery challenges. We're like, okay, can we build like, we had this dream of building a warehouse at our BOCES site, like a small cooler warehouse freezer, so we could bring deliveries in with our truck and out, which never happened. But we wrote that in and wanted to connect it to the BOCES program and have students help us run it as part of their training. So just thinking of like, I always think of like, what do we need help with? And what are the creative ways that we can, like, we need money, obviously money to, and creative ways to solve these problems. So like some of our dreams have not worked out yet, but like, we're lucky we were able to get like funding for a food truck. And that wasn't through Ag and Markets, that was separate funding. But the Ag and Markets grant, like some of them we had has been like, and USDA have been for culinary trainings, you know, possibly building like a cooler warehouse, which hasn't worked out yet. What else? Do you want to chime in, Becky or Cheryl, about some other schools and what they've applied for?
I actually had we're just finishing up this cycle right now, but I had applied first. It was really just solely a marketing grant. Specifically, it covered Erie County, and then we kind of expanded it to Western New York, and that was through Cornell Cooperative Extension of Erie County, just to get some of those materials that you talked about, like posters, retractable banners, things like that. We had started with some like Facebook boosted posts and ads and things like that. And we did step away from that. We didn't think that we really needed it.
Yeah, that's a good point. All of our banners that we've ordered that are in all of our buildings, they have all been purchased through grant funding. That, like, we had a photographer come in and take pictures of the food, like all of that is done through grant funding. That's what we applied for to help support the promotion side of the program.
And Christine, I would just add too, anything that you can, so the Ag and Markets grant gives you an objective. It's to increase the volume and variety of New York food products, but there's a multitude of different ways that you can do that. So as the others said, it's equipment, it's infrastructure, it's training, it's marketing and promotion. It could be a vehicle, as long as you can tie it back to that procurement piece. The Department of Ag and Markets knows that there are various different needs to get there. I mean, we have kitchens buying processing equipment to be able to process vegetables, again, connecting it to that larger objective. So I think you can get really creative with what your needs are, and just tie it back to the bigger goal. And that's open right now, and it's a relatively low lift in terms of applying. It does have a really quick turnaround time. That grant always has. But the USDA grant is very similar. I mean, they're a bit more, they give you an objective as well, but it's local procurement and ag education. So it allows you to tie in some of the educational outcomes as well. But you can fit a lot of things under those two buckets in terms of what your needs are from a food service operator.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've even gone beyond some of that with our grants too. And we've bought like growing towers and like, you know, growing racks to tie into the education piece. I mean, I feel like there's so many opportunities.
I saw you had the picture of the tower gardens.
Mhm.
Are you using them directly into the as a learning tool, or for the kitchen itself for production uses? Because we have a bunch in the district, but since the pandemic, they've been just shut down.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Ours are pretty much shut down with the pandemic as well. We have some schools that the students grow it and then we serve it in the cafeteria. We have some districts, like the food service staff do it, but I think that that's challenging because they have so many other things to do. And plus then students aren't learning anything from it if we're doing it. It really just depends on the district. If you can get like a teacher or someone to incorporate it into their lessons, that's the most ideal. And then the students learn about it, they grow it, and then it's served in the cafeteria. But yeah, with the pandemic, all of ours have shut down as well. And that's actually we were talking about the next round of grant funding, and we're like, okay, how can we revive like our growing towers and our growing racks in the school? Like, what do we need? And we were like, we really need like a person dedicated to it, to like go out and get them started and then answer questions, because I think getting started is the trickiest part, you know, and motivating the schools to restart them. Because right now, as you probably know, Christine, the racks are just sitting. They're sitting in the schools right now. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where when we think like logistics, we were, you know, thinking like, okay, should we talk to our extension office and see if they can help us, you know, restart the racks? And they basically said like right now they would need a part-time person. It's like, okay, can we build it into the grant? Like that's how we think about it, is like, what do we need to make this happen, and can we build it into the grant? Like if you're thinking about starting like a New York Thursday, one of the things we realized is like, we can't always get fresh product already cut coming into the schools. And you can't have a school that has very few staff cutting up like carrots all the time. It just takes so much labor. So we actually, under our grants, were able to buy robo coops. I don't know if you have one of those there, but those are great machines. You just like send the veggies through and they just like chop. That's how we do our shredded salad, like the apple, carrots, and beets. Like it literally just shreds everything within like seconds. They're pretty amazing.
Other schools too have been successful in getting coolers and freezers. So as you're bringing in more fresh product, I'm assuming you have space for it, you might need an extra cooler or freezer, and both grants have been able to fund that too. So again, what they're willing to fund, as long as it ties to the objective, is a pretty broad list. The only thing you can't really do, with the exception of like 10% of your total budget, is buy local food. The whole idea is they want you to create a system that allows you to buy local food and give you the tools and resources to do that, but not actually give you the money to do it. You can allocate a small percentage of your budget to buy some food for taste tests and stuff like that. But I think it's 10%.
Yeah, and I see Hannah just put in the chat, and she's our farm to school coordinator, but you know, purchasing like taste test supplies, that comes out of our grants. It doesn't come out of the food service budget. I mean, sometimes we'll supply like oil or like, you know, pepper or something like a common ingredient, but the rest of it is all purchased with the grant money. And we try to, like, when we're doing the farm to school taste test, if we're using New York chicken, like we source it from the farm and we pay the farmer because we want to be fair. You know, we're actually using their product, but we want to pay them for it, even for the taste test.
So Christine, I just add, if, I don't know, if you, are you considering going, applying for that grant this year?
Well, I was actually going to get in touch with you and see what we could do and to promote next month's New York Thursday. So we'll touch base when, hopefully soon.
Okay. And I also notice Ulster County is heavily represented here. So thanks everyone. You know, we have Rondout Valley, Kingston, you know, right in the middle of you, Ontario, Kingston, Rondout Valley. So maybe, and then there's Ellenville, and then we have New Paltz here. So maybe there's some potential for like collaboration on a grant together, but we can talk about that separately.
Collaboration on a grant too, if it makes sense programmatically, is a great idea. It really strengthens your application. I mean, BT has been awesome and amazing at bringing in money, but you've got 15 schools, right? So your magnitude of impact, it helps. Your magnitude of impact is bigger. That doesn't mean that individual schools don't get it, because that absolutely happens too. Julie, I have a really specific, tiny, granular detail. So you have all this amazing marketing material. You have 15 districts. I don't know how many buildings. How do you, and I'm sorry, I have roommates. How do you get it to all the schools? I mean, I can't imagine you're printing it professionally, I'm assuming, because it looks like it. Like, how are you actually getting that stuff out logistically?
Logistically, interestingly, we are actually housed in the printing center for both seats. So I can actually walk back to the printing center when I need something. But they print it right here, and they have couriers who deliver out to all 15 districts. So,
very good. Okay.
And with the pandemic, the deliveries have been slower because they haven't had drivers. So we just have to make sure we're like planning in advance. And sometimes we, you know, make a decision, like we had to reprint one of our New York Thursday posters because like a product didn't come in. And like, we just decided, we thought about reprinting and then we were like, you know what, by the time we reprint and get it to the school, it was like gonna be too late. So we have to just make, I'm like, you know what, the first posters are okay this time. But yeah, we're able to deliver, you know, and if some of the stuff we don't send through inter-office mail, I put in the chat, like we spend grant money on like shirts and, you know, hats and promotions like that. We have team meetings here, so all of our managers will meet and we'll just disperse all the materials that way as well. I do agree with you, Cheryl, like 15 districts, we have a lot of like, I say like buying power and stuff to implement this, but I also think we do face logistical challenges sometimes because we're so big.
Absolutely. That's why I asked. I mean, even just
Yeah.
getting posters. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot, it's a big geography.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect system. Sometimes, you know, the manager will be like, I never got the posters. I'm like, well, I don't know where they are. So, you know, things get lost. You know, things happen as long as the deliveries get there. Yeah, but I think my biggest thing, like, I don't know, Christine or anybody else on, if you want to share, like, if you're starting farm to school, the smaller you can start and just build from that as much as you can. I mean, that's how we started. We literally started like just getting New York milk and then apples. We didn't even get New York yogurt or string cheese till like a year ago. So, you know, we just, honestly, just the conversations with farmers and even other schools, like what products are you bringing in? I know Cheryl has the database with Harvest New York. Sometimes I just look through there and be like, what else can we use? You know, and can we get it from somebody who's going to deliver down here?
I think the best programs start small and intentionally and grow. And it does. A lot of the stuff starts snowballing, but they just start small and intentionally.
I mean, like I said, New York Thursdays for us literally started with 5 districts. We might even have done 1 building in each district. It was very small. And then we expanded slowly.
And I will just add the power of the promotion is really important. Like in the district my daughter goes to school, they did a New York Thursday and it wasn't heavily promoted, just like a little bit. And all the parents were like, oh my God, when is the next New York pasta sauce day? Like, and I think they all know I do farm to school. So everyone was asking me and I was like, I don't know. I actually didn't have anything to do with this, but people really love it. And participation does go up on those days.
And I would say, like, if you don't have the skills to do some of the promotional stuff, like I have an intern right now, she's in the office, but I always have her like design things for me or, you know, find somebody like our extension office and Food and Health Network, like they have so many people have so many unique skills and they're able to design stuff that we either don't have time to design or just don't have the skills to. You know, that's what the partnership's about.
Yeah, and I think the templates that we have and the kind of community of resources we've collected are really helpful there too, because I mean, to your point, Julie, I don't know anything about designing, but thankfully somebody else paid to have some design work done and we can borrow it and look professional at the same time. So, and there's a lot of those resources out there for schools to be able to use, and Katie and Christy and Lindsay all have access to those for the regions on the call here.
Yeah, I know other districts have asked us about like our New York Thursday logo and using it. And at first we were like, but we created it. But then it's like, I don't know, like, does it really matter? So we have shared it with other districts. If you want to like start a New York Thursday and use it, I think that's fine. I can even email it to you. But really just, you know, sharing the resources, because actually when we started, I think we took some resources, I wouldn't say borrowed some resources from Buffalo and some of their promotional items just to start, because we really didn't have anything.
Do we have any other questions? All right, well, we'll be sending out the recording and some links, including contact information for Julie and Becky after this. So if that's all, then we'll sign off a few minutes early, and everyone, feel free to reach out to us with any questions that come up.
Yeah, if anybody has any specific questions and wants to reach out, feel free. We can have chat on the side. Sometimes that's easier. But thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.